I just want it to be known that it is now canon in Train to the End of the World that Yoka has been gaslit so hard into performing cannibalism. And that's not clickbait. That actually happened. This girl, the Witch of Ikebukuro, the theories that were all confirmed, some called me crazy for many weeks even thinking that everything was simply because of her mind, is now been confirmed. Was last week. But this girl has been so gaslit to the point that she thinks anyone who says that this isn't normal, that this isn't reality, she flares up and is basically controlled to the point of turning humans into bowls of stew, which this crazy cultist bastard then eats. And you may want to try to argue it doesn't technically count as cannibalism because they're no longer a human, they're a bowl of stew. Let me ask you something if you actually believe this. When you eat a hamburger, is it no longer a cow because it looks like a hamburger? Is a hot dog no longer a hot dog because it's not all of the abominations that are turned into that delicious treat? A stew can still be made. I could take a person and turn them into a tasty looking stew. I'm not going to, but my point stands. This girl has been manipulated so hard that even if she's not committing cannibalism, like eating it, she is responsible for it by being gaslit to the point of flaring up and turning people into stew, and this crazy bastard eats it, as Mr. Clean questions if he signed up for the wrong neighborhood. Full live reactions over on Patreon if you want to see my full and good thought to any of this BS. It's gonna be over there exclusively. So, best episode. Most interesting episode. The second half, it was good, but honestly, I could have done with just pure Yoka nonsense. But we are approaching the finish line, and while I was mostly right, I've always been saying something, that there's a piece I'm missing. That I knew the general idea of the theory of where it was going to go, but I knew there was a piece that I was missing. This episode, that piece has been revealed. And that is the crazy bastards who roped us into pressing the old 7G button. Yeah, they're more relevant than I was first giving credit. So the leader of this, basically, his whole thing is, well, we're screwed. I'm not going to take the blame for this. We're in too deep. 7G can't be a failure. We're going to wipe our hands of any guilt, and we're just going to use this girl, manipulate her, make her think this is normal, and anyone who opposes us will get turned into stew, and I'll eat it because I'm a cannibal. That's about the gist of it. It seems like Mr. Clean, aka our new dog, Pochi, it's kind of funny because, like, she wakes up and he talks about how, like, you need to go to the walk and take a shit, and, like, I can be your dog, and I'm like, I thought this dude was gonna be the weirdest of the bunch, but he seems actually surprisingly the most wholesome, if not questionable. At one point, there's a table, there's a chair stacked on the table, he's standing on the chair that's stacked on the table, and he's pouring, like, 9 feet up to the... Why? Why is that the weirdest thing I saw in this episode? I don't know, but it is, but I digress. It seems like what's being implied is that at some point, he's going to betray this guy and probably end up dead if we're being honest. But it seems like he cares about Yoka more than he cares about this guy, but it's just kind of like following the chain of command. But given that she's already implying that she doesn't like this guy, who looks like 50 years old, and he's talking about how hot some 16-year-old kid is, I mean, that says it all. Chris Hansen should isekai himself into this world and tell him to take a seat. But, you know, I digress. I do think what's going to end up happening is that guy's probably not going to make it, and if he does, he is going to be the start of helping her be free. But there is going to be a confrontation. Also, just want to add, Bald Pochi, fake one, is actually the crow. So I'm going to show you some shots. This is from the intro sequence. So basically, this crow turned into Bald Pochi. So, yeah, so he's not even human. So would add even more credibility to not really having loyalty, but just kind of following this dude. So that's kind of crazy to think about. But yeah, shout out to the people who noticed this detail because that's insane. Basically, anyone who is presented as like, you don't support this, this isn't reality, gets got. And, you know, she definitely has these signs of confusion. The whole episode, she's basically in a trance. It actually looks like she's drugged up and just numb. But she has been so warped into thinking this is normal, and when people are like, you witch, put it back to normal, she doesn't understand and then can get actually so pissed off, Exodia obliterate. It's kind of wild, man. And the idea that the girls have this shattering realization that their lives could have been so much easier if only they read that map. Now, granted, the pictures are like 4-year-old details, but That map showed them everything that was going to happen. They just thought this guy was a crazy bastard. They probably should have asked him to maybe jot down some details with the pictures before they sent him off on his swan boat ride again, but you know what? It is what it is. I was under the impression, though, that Ikebukuro was going to be the most normal location, like it was going to be completely normal and everywhere else was messed up, but in fact, the scene that we saw in episode 1 after 7G transformed everything basically was like, yeah, it stuck to that. I just assumed that was the beginning stage and it was gonna, you know, the world would get to where it was as we've seen, and then they would go back to seemingly normal. In fact, no, the core area where everything started is the most messed up. This feels like Courage the Cowardly Dog, just everything I've ever seen in that show just mixed into one ball of chaos. And then in this episode, they also confirmed that shit, yeah, if this all gets left unchecked, we're gonna pretty much a reverse Big Bang and everything's gonna end. To be honest, I'd actually be okay with a dark ending where everything just doesn't work out, like maybe they reunite with their friend, but it just all ends. Will they go dark? Probably not, but I would actually be okay in a case like this. It's such a weird show that I think it would actually work. Will it work out? Most likely, but I'm just throwing that out there. But the contrast in tonal shift from the first 10 minutes, which felt like 2 minutes if we're being honest, dark, eerie, ominous, the OST is almost out of tune, it seeps away, and then they cut to some Stardew Valley level music as they're riding through the... I'm just like... It's two different anime. It was such a whiplash. It was like Train Simulator was Stardew Valley music, or just peak horror. Take your pick. This show is the best anime of the season. 100%. I have shows that I enjoy more than this, but I think without a single doubt in my mind, this is the strongest show of the season, and I honestly think will be a runner-up for anime of the year for me. These types of shows don't come around often, and the fact that it has refused to trip and fall on its face and actually feel like it was well thought out and well written is actually impressive, because I can't remember the last time something as crazy as this. The most I could see is Sunny Boy. Sunny Boy is the only show in recent memory that started weird and ended weird in a good way. But this show is better than Sunny Boy in my humble opinion. That's just me. But there's very few shows that have a consistent what the hell meter, but actually end well. Only a few episodes to go, and I think they're gonna nail it. Now, of course, those are my feelings. I'm still feeling proud that my theory got confirmed, because, believe me, people thought I was a nutcase, but I'm just saying, listen, if I'm gonna go on this LSD trip, I'm gonna come up with some LSD level theories. And I knew something was missing, and for some reason it didn't even cross my mind that the cultist group that made us press the button could still be lingering. I just kind of assumed they got turned into something, and it's just a girl who was going through some emotional shit. Didn't even cross my mind she was being manipulated, but the fact that she can change it on the fly, I thought that was happening, but seeing the witch actually feel like a witch, it gonna get spicy when the reunion happens. Thoughts down below, leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, of course ring that bell so you know if I went up a little more, and like I mentioned, got those full live reactions over on Patreon, and hey, while you're over there, I'll also give you a video shout out. So today we have Devin Mitchell, Tony X, Spectra, Tech Knight, Monty7, and Exia. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care, and have a good one.